In order to encourage further expansion of the shipping sector globally, Chinese businesses are competing for the $300 billion Canal Century project. Since the start of the 21st century, there has been a growth in the volume of trade, communication, and travel that occurs between nations all over the world. The major benefit is that it may be used instead of air, ground, or other transportation methods. According to pertinent statistics, one benefit of shipping is that it can accommodate a lot of goods for a relatively cheap price. Between 85% and 90% of all products transported throughout the world at this time go by water. The Panama Canal and the Suez Canal, both of which are well known to the general public, are the two most well-known sea canal building projects in the world today. The Panama Canal is a waterway built by the United States and Panama that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Freighters can avoid going across the entire continent of South America by using the Panama Canal as a shortcut. The Suez Canal, a waterway that links the Mediterranean Sea with the Indian Ocean, was dug by the British and French in cooperation. The two canals' waterways have grown relatively little due to the quick growth in freight traffic. Nevertheless, due to the little alternatives accessible to so many freighters, they are unable to meet the transportation needs of huge or exceptionally large freighters. In order to meet the rising demand for shipping, the transportation cycle must be extended proportionately. A broader canal route is urgently needed, and this need holds true for both Nicaragua and the rest of the world. As a matter of fact, the Nicaragua Canal has been in the works for 200 years, but the actual canal has not yet been constructed. Where can I locate that explanation? Let's start by looking at the situation in Nicaragua, a country in Central America. Nicaragua has coasts on both the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean on each side of the nation, roughly in the geographic middle of Central America. It is regarded as one of the world's poorest countries. They are all reliant on the import and export of goods made from agriculture and animal husbandry as the traditional means of generating wealth. Its industry is far less developed than that of other nations. Additionally, its economic growth is also relatively sluggish. In just 10 years, the Suez Canal may provide yearly profits for Egypt of up to $4.8 billion USD, or more than 2% of the country's annual GDP. Due to the building of the Panama Canal, Panama has grown to become one of the richest nations in Central America. As a result, Nicaragua wants to build a canal to take advantage of the country's favorable geographic location and improve the country's economic standing. Once the canal is completed, it is projected that it would be able to generate at least $5.5 billion USD in yearly income and provide close to 200,000 jobs for the local population. When the canal was being built, Nicaragua may rank among the most successful countries in Central America even after the canal construction is completed. The idea of building a canal in Nicaragua was first proposed in the 19th century, and calculations that were necessary at the time for the canal's construction had been done by the designers who took part in its creation. The detour will be more than 24,000 kilometers and take 36 days if it is essential to convey products from New York to Japan, since huge cargo ships cannot travel through the Panama Canal and the Suez Canal. The journey's duration and overall distance, however, would both be cut in half by 17,000 kilometers and 11 days, respectively, if Nicaragua's canal were opened. In 1883, the first foundation stone for the Nicaragua Canal was placed. Large gold deposits were discovered in the state of California at the time building initially started because people were fascinated by discovering gold. As a result, it was necessary to make room for the transportation of gold via rivers. As a result, when each country had its own demands, the United States and Nicaragua split, and the right to build Nicaragua's first canal was granted to the United States. The official signing of the cooperation agreement took place in 1884. However, after conducting on-site assessments in Nicaragua, American troops made the decision to forego working with the Nicaraguan government in favor of concentrating their efforts on excavating the Panama Canal. As a result, the first design for the Nicaragua Canal's excavation was scrapped. After then, a lot of countries showed interest in working on this project, but none was able to agree on the excavation. Immediately after that, Russia sent a letter of intent for this project. The two countries came together at that time for a summit conference and agreed to cooperate on building the Nicaragua Canal. At the time, it was expected that the project would require $20 billion in capital expenditures, with a 12-year building period. On the other hand, it was discovered upon Russia's entrance that $20 billion would not be enough for investigation at the real location. The structure itself was also exceedingly challenging to construct, and there was no advantage to doing so. As a result, Russia gave up on the plan. After that, a number of nations arrived to engage in negotiations in an effort to seize control of the canal. But in the end, everyone reneged and gave up. How challenging is the digging procedure then? Starting with the canal in Nicaragua, the nation of Nicaragua is situated in a remarkably distinctive region of the globe. In this area, earthquakes and volcanic eruptions often occur. Due to the hidden dangers that the volcanoes in this area posed, the United States of America gave up. Additionally, the economy of the region and the way of life of the indigenous peoples are both significantly influenced by Lake Nicaragua. This is the source of the water used for agriculture and domestic purposes. Additionally, this region of Nicaragua has very high-quality native ecological resources. In addition, a variety of species that are highly rare and are unique to this area may be found here. A sizable fraction of the coral reefs in the Caribbean Sea are also connected to the canal, which is a remarkable figure. The region has been listed by the United Nations as a World Heritage Site in addition to being declared as a marine reserve for marine life. In terms of the project's financial commitment, the problem is as follows. Nicaragua is unable to accept such a significant investment due to its extreme poverty. The crops and homes of the people who live along the canal's course will also be impacted by its development. Additionally, it is a major issue to relocate people while adequately compensating them. Therefore, the Nicaragua Canal has turned into a project that no one is willing to try to undertake due to the difficult climate, geographic position, and massive cost necessary. Nicaragua had to build a canal anyway in order to proceed in its development. Ultimately, Nicaragua found a Chinese infrastructure, gathered a business team, and raised the project budget. In order to build the canal and get the right to manage it for a century, the HKN Group owned by Chinese businessman Wang Jane founded the Nicaragua Grand Canal Development Company in Hong Kong. After Chinese infrastructure corporations had been successful in obtaining the right to carry out the project's development, this was done so that they could get the license to run the canal. According to reports, the project would be one of the biggest infrastructural projects ever undertaken, a British media outlet claims. Additionally, the project has not yet been done, although it is projected that it will be in 2020. Why? This is because, as it prepared to start construction, China encountered a variety of obstacles from foreign forces. The United States of America was responsible for the excavation and construction of the Panama Canal, as well as the maintenance and operation of the waterway, as was just mentioned, and is worried that the interests of the United States in shipping could be at risk if Chinese private companies are permitted to build the Nicaragua Canal and are given the right to operate it for a period of 100 years. The Nicaragua Canal and the Panama Canal, both of which are now under construction, may be compared to any canal in Central America. There will probably be greater levels of competitiveness after the Nicaragua Canal is completed. The Panama Canal also enjoys a monopoly in the Central American market. In addition to being influenced by public opinion, shipments will experience delays. Due to Nicaragua's fragile political and economic context, a huge number of environmentalists successively protested the project in the area. The project was suspended in 2018 and never picked back up. On the other hand, given that diplomatic connections between China and Nepal have been restored, it's feasible that the project will once more be put on the calendar in order to take into account the restoration of diplomatic ties and the continued strengthening of commercial relationships between the two nations. Do you hold that view? Share your opinion in comments. Click on this video to watch about another shocking project you didn't know about.